Hello and welcome to Ripple Hype Chat. I'm here with Justin Ashworth from Glasfrosch, and they've released a 5-track EP called Aubades, with the expectation of releasing a part 2 coming next year. Is that correct, Ash? Justin?
Yeah, that's right. Probably middle of next year, or middle to late next year.
Yeah. Now you've just come off of a concert tour with a guy from Europe. Is that correct? Just recently?
Yeah. So we played it's just wrapping up Melbourne Music Week here at the moment. So we played a big show at the Federation Bells with Panther du Prince, big German techno guy, and we basically orchestrated the Federation Bells into a bunch of our songs, and so did he. So it was just a big bell music night with live music and live electronic music. It's good, man. We played to a massive crowd. It was really responsive, and it was one of the best shows we've ever done, I reckon. Yeah,
and a big crowd too, which you were saying you were pretty impressed as a band. It's good to get that opportunity.
It was amazing. It was an amazing opportunity. It was, hopefully that'll sort of do good for us in the future. We get lots of those people back to some other shows. Good feedback from it, man. Lots of people said they enjoyed the show. So
well, what I want to mention about your music is it's listening to it. It's very different. I can't say I can really pinpoint you into any particular genre. It's atmospheric and has such deep ambience about it, but then there is a lot of drama in between the song structures itself, and they're quite lengthy. There's a lot of stuff going on in the package, and your voice. You're using a lot of falsetto in your voice, and just tell us a bit about that. Your music and your writing, how you've come about to use your voice in a different way that I very rarely. I mean, unless you talk about Jeff Buckley or somebody like that, you don't hear too many male vocalists. I was mistaken for thinking it was female initially until I started, but not that you sounded female, but it's.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to put you down. I'm trying to be fair.
That's cool. I mean, most of my favourite singers are females, so I listen to heaps of female singers like Tori Amos and Björk. Lately, lots of PJ Harvey, although she's probably got a deeper voice than I do. And all the male singers that I really listen to a lot have got pretty high voices. I'm a big fan of Radiohead. And Tom York does a lot of the falsetto stuff, and I think that's really just from years of listening to that kind of stuff. It's just seeped into me. So when I come up with ideas, and I like to make really low sounds. I don't have a really low voice, so in contrast to that, I like to come up with things that are melodies that are quite floaty and sort of ethereal. So and I'm not a trained singer. I've always just been the guy that had the balls to do it, so had the guts to get on the mic, and I kind of really enjoy it. So I've worked on things a bit and got some hints from people here and there, but just pursued the sound that I really liked, which was that kind of breathy, floaty sort of head voice. And
it's working. I think it sounds great. Just on your band, you're a 3-piece band. In your EP, you've acknowledged a few other musicians that have come in to do some of the recording. That be, I think you got a saxophonist on board as well.
Oh, yeah. So that's on our first record. Yeah. That was back then we were sort of much more. It was much more of a project than a band. I think. Yeah. I wasn't really sure where it was going. Yeah. So we had a lot of the time we had 4 or 5 people on stage, so there was cello and percussion, and it was much more. We had a backing vocalist as well at one point. There was sort of a bigger, more eclectic sound of live instruments, still with the electronic components. But yeah, that record was, lots of those songs were kind of written just to be recorded, and then we figured out how to do some of them live after we'd recorded them.
Yep.
Yeah, that one, we got Ben McKinnon in to do some sax, and that was pretty, like, we knew we wanted sax on that song. We didn't know who we were going to get. We were just getting numbers off people, and the guy in the studio where we recorded like had Bear's number, and we were big fans of his band Mr. Bungle, so we were like, hey man, let's get the guy from Mr. Bungle, and he was really great, man. He came in, really professional, like really funny, and like played the arse out of the tune, so that was pretty cool. And then we got a tabla player on a track, and yeah, it was good fun, like finding those different sounds.
Yeah, and now as a band, you've cut it back to 3-piece, and that's what you go with live on stage now. Is you're not looking for anything more than that?
Oh, we're always looking for more than that, I think. I think it was economical to kind of cut it down to 3 people, and it kind of suited the stuff we were kind of coming up with. Yep. So it was sort of, let's make 5 tracks and keep like just a really good 3-piece band sound. And I mean, because we use lots of electronics, it sounds like more than 3 people. You know, there's always like extra glitchy things going on, and you know, there's no bass player on stage, but there's lots of like crazy bleeping synth basses going on, and we just like generate all that electronically while we're playing. So yeah, I mean, I'd like cello in the band again, you know, like some of the stuff I come up with, it's like it needs like some form of strings, and it's like, and strings is one of those things I don't like to fake it, so sometimes the guitar can do it, sometimes, you know, it can't. But yeah, some of the new stuff, I'm like, I'd be keen to get a cellist back in the band, especially for the live shows. But yeah, I mean, on the record you could always get someone in to do the session, but you know, getting someone to commit to like a tour or, you know, lots of rehearsing, lots of those musicians are very busy and expensive, and it's so it sort of like comes down to necessity in the end. It's like, keep making the music you want to make at against all odds and at all costs, and just it's like anything in life, you know, if you can't afford a Ferrari, you know, buy something cheaper and drive it like it's a Ferrari.
Now, you've been this band's formed some time back, 2007 I believe, but under a different name, and you've just sort of come up with Glasfrosch a year ago, a little over a year ago or something. Is that
probably close to three years ago now.
3 years ago. It
was like just before we put out our first records and we came up with the name. So, and then before that we just used my name. It was easier, and it was different music then too, you know, like it was much more ambient. It's a lot more experimental, and you know, it was mostly just soundscapes, like synths and percussion, and not very much, nothing really with like grooves or anything. And when that started to infiltrate the band and it started to kind of like change the sound, it was like obviously something different. I always wanted to have a cool band name because I didn't like naming it after myself, so yeah, and it happened. Then one day it happened.
I'm happy for you to share it. You shared it with me earlier, how you got the name. Would you like to share it with the rest of the viewers, how Glasfrosch came about?
It's not an interesting story, but it's German for glass frog, and you know, I like frogs. Frogs are cool, and glass frogs are probably the coolest. They've got transparent skin, and you can see through their, you know, under light especially, you can see all their organs through their skin. And I thought, that'd be a cool band name, but it was already taken online on MySpace back when MySpace was cool. I can't believe that they're trying to make MySpace cool again, but they can have that. They can keep that one, I think. And so I just like, my family background's Austrian, so I like thought, I wonder what it looks like in German, and it just looked cool. And I was like, I hope I can pronounce that correctly. And the rest of the guys in the band didn't mind it, so we just went with it. Yeah. Every time when people say, what's your band called? I say, Glasfrosch, and they're like, what? Like, get that every time. I should have just called it something else.
No. I'm finding with a lot of bands that we interview and that we're having a lot of that trouble. yeah.
I see it with metal bands a lot. It's like, what's your band called? And it's some kind of like weird, like Latin name that they've come up with that means like brutal death or something. But yeah.
So you're not alone there, but you are very different with your music and your musical direction, and I want to touch a bit more on that and how you go about with the songwriting, and as a band, are you all in agreement with the direction you want to go as a band? Like,
I hope so.
Yeah.
I have ideas and I like throw them at the guys, and yeah, they're like the good ideas, I guess, tend to stick. Like if we're talking like career direction, I think we're all kind of like just doing it for the music and sort of not too worried about like where we end up. But if you mean like musical direction, like yeah, we tend to. The guys seem pretty happy with like the stuff that I throw at them. That seems pretty good.
It's very avant-garde, isn't it? Though it's not. It's not your typical. It's not your typical. You're not your typical commercial band where you. I mean, as you said before, you're obviously passionate about music of a particular style that you're into and expressing that you're in your own terms, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I just listen to so much music, you know. I love pop music. I mean, I'm really into just a good song as a thing, but then I love like really progressive music and like abstract experimental stuff. I listen to like, I mean, the last sort of big show I went and saw was like Einstein on the Beach, Philip Glass's 4-hour opera, you know, and then like, I'm hoping to go see John Zorn at Adelaide Fest next year, you know.
Mm-hmm.
See some really manic jazz metal stuff, you know. Like, all of us in the band, like, I think our drummer's favorite band's probably Death Grips, you know, like crazy manic hip hop / punk stuff, you know.
Yeah. We
listen to so much different music, and so there's not like a genre focus for the group. Like a lot of bands pick a genre, I think, and they say, oh well, we want to do this and we want to fit this mold because we like something about it. And that's cool, but we've kind of just like crammed it all in and just said, what do we got here? Let's make sense of it. What fits together? And I mean, it makes it really time consuming to write music that way because so much of it doesn't fit together, or you can force it together and it kind of doesn't sound any good, you know?
Yeah.
So it's hard to like find a way where it's, I guess, where it still reflects yourself personally and it's not just a big mashup for the hell of it. And I think that's where it's good that for the most part, like I do most of the writing. I think that's what helps make it gel, because in the end it sort of comes down to like quite a personal reflection for me.
Yeah.
With like a bunch of guys who are like really close with, that they know me, and especially like I've been making music with Adam, our piano player, for 10 or more years now in different projects.
Yep.
And like we know each other pretty well, you know, so that there's a good understanding there. It's like we know sort of where not our boundaries are, but we know each other's points of reference.
Yep.
So that gets the job done, I guess. Like, I mean, there's always surprises. I mean, when we went in the studio to record the stuff for the new record, I mean, there was piano bits. Those bits that I wasn't even hearing in the session, that I was hearing in the mix, going, man, I didn't know you played that. That's awesome. Little flourishes on bits that just change it. And I'm like, man, I'm turning that up in the mix. Like, it sounds great. And I never knew it was in the song because we belted out in the band room, and it's like, all you can hear is yourself, you know?
Yeah,
so
that's true, yeah.
Yeah, so like there's just little things like that. I think it's better having like musicians with their own personality adding to your own vision than, I think, just sort of saying, play these 3 notes. Like if I say to Adam, play these 3 notes, by the end of the day, there's 20 notes in there, but they're the perfect 20 notes that I could never have come up with myself, you know?
Yep.
So it's good to have that sort of elasticity in the process.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I think it works. Like it pleases me, and that's the only reason we do it, isn't it? I mean, I'm not making this kind of weird, messed up shit to like sell heaps of records, obviously.
Well, you know, there is people that, you know, quite like that avant-garde artist, you know, and then quite a number of people follow those artists, and then when they decide to go commercial,
yeah,
they're pretty much disappointed. They think that they've been sold out, you know, they're fans and followers. I think in the end you just got to do with what you as an individual wants to do.
Exactly.
And I think realistically, these artists that do become successful, they've obviously wanted that success somewhat, and I think we all aspire to have success in some manner or form. I aspire to have money. I don't know about the fame. I don't really get people that want to get on X Factor and all that sort of stuff. I think if you could acquire getting recognition as an artist and as a musician is far more rewarding, and making it a livelihood would be far more rewarding than.
If it sustained itself, I'd be happy, you know. Like if I didn't have to work another job to pay for this one to exist, you know, it would be good to have, like, I don't mind having a day job to pay my rent, but it's hard when some days you gotta like say, oh baby, can you cover my share of the rent this month because I gotta go like master my record, you know. That's pretty lame. Yeah, you gotta have a pretty awesome girlfriend for that. so it'd be good to like not have those kinds of pressures in my life, but I don't know, like I'm still gonna keep doing it, you know. Like I think when you're young, like everyone in their like late teens, early 20s is like chasing that, oh, we're going to be huge thing. And then, you know, I'm 34 now, and I'm just like, I don't care if there's, you know, 6 people or 6,000 people here. I'm going to have an awesome time because I reckon I've written some awesome music, and I just like, just do it for me, you know. And
yeah, I love that, and I respect that.
Change tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll probably wake up and have a big crisis about how, oh God, I've got to like do this or do something else, but who knows? You know, it's just.
Do you ever find with the fact that you've written something and you've taken it to the rest of the band and you think yourself this is really cool, I love it. Have you ever had the other members sort of
veto it?
Yeah. I don't. Where's he going with this? I don't really get this. I don't. Has that happened to you, or have you been that successful?
I've had stuff not work.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, you know, I've had Adam turn around and go, like he'll make like a joke about how it sounds like some cheesy pop song or something, and he'll like, you know, if he thinks it sounds cheesy or something. But usually that's more like one of us isn't communicating what we're doing right. Like it'd be like, nah, make it more like this or something. But yeah, sure. I mean, heaps of times I bring ideas in. I'm like, oh, had this idea and you play this over this, and it's sort of like this isn't going to go anywhere, or it might just need like more work. But usually no one ever turns around and goes, dude, that sucks, I'm quitting the band, you know. Although people have like come and gone from the group, hopefully it wasn't because they thought the music was shit. But yeah, it's pretty good. Like I hope that if they didn't like it, they'd say something, you know. Yeah, that'd be better.
Justin, anyway. with your new EP, Aubades, where can the public out there buy it? Is it for sale? Have you got it on Bandcamp?
You can get it online. We've got it on Bandcamp.
Yep.
So, it's on Bandcamp, and it's just, if you go glasfrosch.com, that takes you to our Bandcamp. or
Okay.
glasfrosch.bandcamp.com.
Yep.
Either one, they both take you to the same place.
Yeah.
And all our stuff there. So both our full-length albums, and there's a remix EP we did of one of our tunes there as well.
Yeah, so I highly recommend that, folks, to get onto Bandcamp and look this band up and get their music, because I find it just uniquely different, and it's great to see artists such as yourselves not holding back on being selfish, because in some regards that avant-garde artists such as yourselves are, it just stretches the boundaries of unique individual quality that I think is important in everyone's lives. I think the true artistic expression is somewhat lost in commercialism these days, and artists such as yourselves that are expressive in a format such as music is very important, and I'd hate to see it lost. Listening to your tracks, absolutely love them, and I think they're well worth a listen, and I truly recommend people getting on board and supporting you. And what sort of tours have you got in the future? Have you got any? Are you coming to Adelaide?
Man.
You coming to Adelaide to do a gig at all, or?
I would love to get to Adelaide to do a gig. Yeah, we don't have anything lined up for Adelaide yet.
Yeah.
Sort of just. I think we're probably going to keep things low key until maybe March.
Yep.
But I'm not really sure. I'd like to get interstate probably before we put the next record out, and then again after we do it, and do a couple of quick tours around. We've never played in Adelaide. We played in Sydney and Canberra a few times.
Yep.
And Sydney and Canberra's pretty small. They've got a cool little arty community going on there.
Yep.
Sydney was really good. Really good crowd. Probably the most receptive crowd we've ever had was the first time we played in Sydney, and people stood at the front, they clapped, they really done their homework and they wanted to see us play. It was really good.
Yep.
And we played with a band called Sleep Makes Waves. It was a fairly long time ago before they got super big, but they were just amazing to guys to be in a room with, and they had big following already, so it was good for us, It's getting to Adelaide would be great. I think just at the moment, because it's coming up to Christmas, everyone's kind of figuring out what they're doing for the summer, and kind of feeling a bit broke, and got another record to finish off. So that's gonna probably chew up most of the first half of the year, I think, and then organise getting something massive on the road after that. So I'd like to have a big production to tour, and maybe do a small tour with just the three of us, just go out, play some rock shows, and then do the full album tour with a bit more of a big production, because I'm a big fan of that. Get some custom, some new visuals, and cool outfits. I like the spectacle. I like to kind of make the room an environment when we play a big headline show.
Yeah.
Make it really immersive for the crowd, and more of an experience than just I don't know what it's like in Adelaide, but in Melbourne, there's there's more bands than there are punters. Everyone's in a band. Most people are in two or three. There's more bands than there are people to go see them, and there's so many venues that it's sort of I think, not that live music's had its day or anything, but it's not valued the same way it maybe used to have been. Yeah. People sort of see it as oh yeah, we could go see a band any old time, Yeah. And so you really have to make it special if you want people to come along, and then that's really hard because every band's trying to make it special. So there's some great stuff in this town, but yeah. Well, I like a bit of a spectacle, and that's sort of I think where we're at now is just we've got the tunes and we've got the recording. So it's working on getting a banging live show on the road would be good. Yeah.
Well, certainly wish you all the best with that, and look forward to you when you do come to Adelaide, and look forward to hearing from you again. You know, we'd love to catch up with you again, and perhaps before the part 2 of Aubades is released. You're calling it Nocturnes, is that right?
Nocturnes, yep.
And then releasing it
morning and night sides of the record that way.
Yep. Sounds good. Justin, it's been a delight talking to you. Thanks so much for making time and speaking with us.
Thank you so much for asking me to come along. Thanks.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Well, we wish you all the best, mate. And from part of Ripple Hive, thanks again.
Thanks so much.
Bye bye.